Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick video on shimming diffs. What I'm going to do is shim the diffs on my Helion Invictus. A lot of Invictus owners know that that's one of the weakest points on this truck are the diffs. I'm going to show you guys actually what I'm going to do for this, and this can also be done for just about any RC car. Most car kits don't require you to shim the diffs, but for this particular kit, the Helion Invictus, it's a necessity if you're going to actually upgrade, which I'll be doing later on. I'll be upgrading to a castle motor, which is going to have a lot more power and speed, and I'm going to need that shimming in there to keep the disc from messing up. So anyway, what you do basically on the Invictus is you unscrew, of course, all the screws here so I can get this up, and a little dirty inside there, but what you see, get this out the way real quick, is if you guys can see this, there's a little bit of play in there. You can barely hardly see it, but what happens is when you start putting on the brakes for the Invictus, this starts to move, this differential starts to move, and eventually it'll start wearing into these gears here, and these are actually getting pretty worn themselves, and eventually it'll start making like a stripping noise, and it's basically these gears are wearing so much because it's moved so much that they start to get rounded and worn down, and when you stop and brake, these actually skip over, or this skips over, and that's what makes that noise. So I'm going to show real quick. This is the before. You can see that little movement in there, and then I'm going to actually I have some extra ones left over. I purchased these from Hobbytown. Yeah, $7.99. They're pretty expensive, but they are actually worth it. You can see the part number there, CLN4740. They are 10 millimeter shims. And I'm going to go ahead and put these on there, and I'll show you guys the difference when these are put on there, so you'll see less movement. Okay, so what I did was I went ahead and I took the differential off, and trying to do this the best way I can with one hand. I took one of the shims from out of my bag, and I actually placed it on there. You can actually see it right there. Now, in some cases, you only have to shim one side, but I've had an Invictus before, so I'm going to go ahead and actually put a shim on this side as well. So I'm going to take that bearing off, and I'm going to take this shim, and I'm actually going to place it there, and then I'm going to put the bearing over top of it again. Okay, so I went ahead and shimmed both sides of the disc, or put shims on each side. And it's going to be somewhat difficult to tell, but if you watch how I try to shake this now, you see there's no movement at all. And I just needed to use one shim on each side of the diff to keep that from having that slight movement or breaking whenever, so to keep this from moving at all. But you see there's no movement at all as it was before. So the only thing I need to do, put this case back on, screw that back on, and also I'll probably go ahead and shim the front while I got this whole thing apart. So that is just a quick video on shimming diffs. This can be done for any car. You just have to make sure you have the right size shims, and you may need to use two. I've heard of some people having other cars using 2 and 3, and some people do it on one side. So it's just going to depend on the type of car you have. Any questions or comments, please put them below, and don't forget to rate and subscribe.